All right, today we're going to focus on writing the equations of lines. So you did a lot of this in Algebra 1, probably a little in geometry, and then it just falls off the wagon in Algebra 2. And then when we get back to calculus, it's nonstop. So I think this is a very simple lesson. You should feel pretty comfortable with it, but we'll just kind of review some of these things that you've done in the past years. So we have 3 different ways to write the equation of a line. And then, of course, you should know your slope formula. So before I get into the equation of the lines, let's just review our slope formula. We like to use the letter M, and you probably use that a lot in 8th grade and probably geometry. And it was the change in y, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, just to remind you, x1, y1 is some point that you know, and x2, y2 would be the second point that you know. And it's literally just the change in y over change in x. A lot of times you'll see change in y over change in x. All right, so the 3 forms of a line you should know are referred to as the slope-intercept form, the point slope, and the standard form. Probably the least familiar is going to be your standard form. Point slope is most likely the only one we're going to use in calculus. And then slope intercept, they might clean it up on you. They could clean it up on you into either of these 2 forms, but point slope is probably where we're going to spend most of our time. But we will review all of them. So slope intercept, I kind of like the names of them because they're exactly how they sound. You need a slope and you need the y-intercept. So this was just y equals mx plus b, where m was your slope again. And we just reviewed that equation up here. And b is equal to your y-intercept. So just to recall, a y-intercept is when you cross the cross the y-axis. So getting a y-intercept is always easy because that's just when the x value is 0. Point slope, again, I love the name because it's just how it sounds. You need a point and a slope. And this function is actually y2 minus y1 equals m times x2 minus x1. And like I said, star this for yourself. This is the one you're going to use 99% of the time, is the point slope formula. So again, just like it sounds, you need a slope and a point. Most of the time we won't put y2 and x2, but it is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So let's just kill those 2's. We don't want to practice saying those, I guess. And then your standard form. Your standard form is just ax plus by equals c, okay? Where a, b, and c are just some integers. And again, we don't really write it in this form. They sometimes mess around with the multiple choice and they'll put it in that form, but it's just so you're aware, it is called standard form. And then you're going to find the words parallel and perpendicular all over the place. So just to review those, parallel lines have the same slope, 2 lines that never intersect each other. But the key in calculus is slope. So again, if we could narrow all of calculus down to one word, it is the word slope, okay? Or the word rate, which is obviously a slope as well. We talk about slope, 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 slope. It's all about slope. So parallel means they have the same slope. So something like this would be 2 parallel lines. Perpendicular, we like to use the words opposite and reciprocal. Okay, so you do 2 things. So let's say your slope is negative 4/5. If you wanted a perpendicular line, your slope would now become positive 5/4. Okay, you do 2 things. You take the opposite sign. So if it's negative, it becomes positive, positive, negative. And then reciprocal means you flip the fraction. Now you notice I have the word normal here. Okay, I would highlight that for yourself. Most of the time, they're not going to say perpendicular. They're going to use the word normal. Normal means perpendicular. For some reason, our New York State curriculum doesn't use it, but every other curriculum does. All right, question 1. Write the equation of a line in point slope form. Okay, so don't worry about trying to memorize the forms. Just say it. You need a point and a slope, point slope form. So just kind of put that off to the side. I need a point and I need a slope. That contains the points 3, 4, and 21, negative 15. Okay, so you have a point. That's pretty easy. You have the point 3, 4, or you could choose the point 21, negative 15. Doesn't actually matter. And now you just need a slope. Well, if you have 2 points, you can easily calculate the slope with the slope formula. So remember, the slope is the change in y. So I'm going to start with my y values. 4 minus negative 15. Make sure you keep them in order. If you're going to start with this one, then your x values start the same. 3 minus 21. So 4 minus negative, the two negatives make a positive. So I'm going to say that's 19. 3 minus 21 would be negative 18. So there's actually two equations you could write here because you have 2 points. So I'm just going to write both and then we will be done with it. So I'm going to say I could have y minus 4. So y minus y1 equals my slope, 19 over negative 18. That negative could just come out in front, times x minus 3. Or I could use the other point. Y minus negative 15, I'm just going to go ahead and make that a plus, equals negative 19/18 times x minus 21. And again, either one's fine. Most of the time, we'll just leave it in point slope form, so we'll be pretty simple, I think. I'll give you a moment to try the second question, and then just turn it on and compare. I probably won't walk through all of it, but I'll give you a moment to read it. Write the equation of a line in point slope, so same idea. Oh, this one's worded differently. It has a y-intercept of 4 and goes through the point 1427. So think about this again. A y-intercept is where you cross the y-axis. So you are crossing the y-axis at 4. Well, think about it. You should know the point there then. If you cross the y-axis at 4, what are the coordinates of that point? Well, you move 0 on the x-axis and 4 up. So they're actually giving you 2 points without saying the actual coordinate of the point. So go ahead and pause it and we'll compare work. So hopefully you can run through my work there. I had a slope of positive 23/14. And I wrote the two equations of my lines, and hopefully we're good to go there. Question 2, write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so slope-intercept form means you want to be able to see the slope and the intercept in the equation. So at the end of the day, they're looking for y equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to go about this the long-winded way. I'm going to go into point slope and then convert it to slope-intercept just because that's what we will end up doing in calculus more often. So let's go ahead and find our slope. I'm going to pause it and find it. You do the same. All right, so I'm going to use this first point and write the equation of my line. So I'm going to say y minus 10 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 21, x plus 21 when I put those two negatives together. So I had a negative 1/2. And my x plus 21. So right now I'm in point slope form because I see the point and I see the slope. So I'm going to convert this to the y equals mx plus b, which basically means just get y by itself. So again, the reason I'm doing this is because you'll see this in our class a lot. So I'm going to distribute this. This is negative 1/2 x. And I'm going to distribute this. This is going to be minus. This is like a 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to get minus, multiply the tops, 21 over 2. And lastly, I just need to add over the number 10. So if I add 10 over here, then I have to add 10 over here. Now, when I add these terms together, this pair has an x, of course, so I'm not adding anything together here. I'm adding these two numbers together because they're like terms. They're just constants, numbers by themselves. And the reason I'm doing this is we're going to deal with a lot of fractions, so I just want to remind you how to add two fractions together. So currently, this is over 1, so you need to get common denominators. I need to multiply this fraction, whatever I want to do, I have to do to the top and bottom, by 2 over 2. This way I'll get a denominator of 2. So this is like saying, if I multiply these together, 20 over 2. So now I can add these two terms together. Negative 21 over 2 plus 20 over 2 just makes negative 1 over 2. So I'm going to say the equation of this is y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1/2. So now I am in the slope-intercept form because I can see my slope and I can see my intercept. Now, just for fun, because this will happen in your multiple choice, let's put it in standard form. Standard form basically means there are no fractions. So to kill this fraction with a denominator of 2, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to multiply every term I see by the number 2. So 2 times y becomes 2y. 2 times negative 1/2, I'm going to get negative 2 over 2, so that becomes negative x. And 2 times 1/2 becomes 1. So I've got it in all the forms. I've got it in my point slope form that I started with, my slope intercept form, and then standard form just for fun. All right, so I'll give you another you try problem. Take a moment, start in point slope form, convert it to slope intercept form, and then just for fun, put it into your standard form. So like I said, pause it, try it, and then we'll compare all of our work. Oh, shucks, I think I made that one too easy. There wasn't any fractions and really anything to clean up. So hopefully you found it as easy as I did there. All right, write the equation of the line in slope intercept. So at the end of the day, we want to see a slope and an intercept. That's the mx plus b looking for. That is parallel, so ding, 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 there's a keyword, to that function, and contains the point 12, negative 18. All right, so let's start with the word parallel. Parallel means you want the same slope. So can you just look at this function and say what the slope is? Well, of course, because it's in y-intercept form, the slope is the number in front of the x. So I want a slope of 3, and I want to pass through the point 12, negative 18. So piece of cake, we'll start with that point slope formula. Y minus negative 18 would be y plus 18 equals 3 times x minus 12. And then to put it in slope intercept, like we said, we'll just clean it up. Y plus 18 equals 3x minus 36. Subtract over that 18. Y equals 3x minus 54. And we have it. All right, I'll give you another kind of we try problem, you try problem. The only difference in this one is that we don't want to be parallel, we want to be perpendicular. So again, if I go and I look for my slope, the number in front of x, if y is by itself, of course, if my slope is 3, then in my perpendicular line, notice that's the symbol for perpendicular back from geometry, I am now looking for a slope of negative, so opposite, and 1/3. If I flip 3 over, I get 1/3. 3 is 3 over 1, so my reciprocal would be 1/3. All right, so I'll give you a moment to pause it and try it. All right, so hopefully you can follow my work here. Here's my function, my point slope formula. I distributed my negative 1/3, and then I added over that 21. So I had y equals negative 1/3 x plus 17. And then just for fun, I put it in the standard form. So I said, oh, a denominator of 3. I just multiplied every term by 3. And there you have it. Lastly, I just wanted to review graphing functions, just because, like I said, it's probably been a while. When you want to graph a linear function anyway, again, you want to find the either 2 points or point slope formula. So the way I'm staring at this equation, 2x minus 3y equals 12. Right now, I wouldn't say I know the slope at all because the y value is not by itself. And that's the key. You always want to make sure y is alone. So I'm going to manipulate this equation first. So I'm going to say, I'm actually going to bring the 12 this way and the 3y this way. So I'm going to say 2x minus 12 equals 3y. Clearly, that's not your only option. I just wanted to make my y positive. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide every term, just make sure you do things equally, by the number 3. So I'm going to say y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so again, this is called slope intercept form because you should see the slope. We'll just identify that. The slope is 2/3. And the y-intercept is negative 4. So when I go to graph this, I begin with my y-intercept. So I need to find negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put my first point there. And then I'm just going to count. Remember slope, just to review, it's been a while, is rise over run. So I'm going to rise 2, positive 2, and then I'm going to run 3. 1, 2, 3, and make my next point. I'm going to rise 2 and run 3, make my next point. Rise 2, run 3, etc. Now, if I want to go in the opposite direction, just change both sides. I want to go down 2 and left 3. Down 2 and left 3. And we've got our function graphed there. So hopefully just a quick review of some linear equations, and we look forward to some great practice.